card. You facing Francisco Rivera on Saturday night. What were your thoughts when you heard you got the new opponent?
When I first got the news, I didn't, to be honest, care one bit because it was still like some time away. So I'm in such a crazy sport. Fights change all the time. So for me, in my training camps, I always make myself a better fighter. That's all I concentrate on. I don't concentrate too much on my opponent. I just want to make sure the better Brad Pickett turns up every time. So I always try to develop as a fighter. But now I'm excited about I'm here at fight week. So unless something crazy happens, like I don't know, we're fighting. So this is where I get more excited about a fight because it's on basically. And with him as an opponent, I think he's going to be an exciting opponent. You know, he's going to be there. He's not going to be hard for me to find. You know, he's going to stand in my front. He's going to try and knock my head off. He's come here to 100% win, and I'm here at 100% win as well. So yeah, that's the whole thing with me. I'm here to, yeah.
And do you prefer to fight at bantamweight as well? Is it easier for you just in general?
Making flyweight was an absolute ball ache for me, you know, but it was my job. I went down to flyweight because I beat Demetrius Johnson before, and it was more of a thing to try and become #1 in the world before I retired, you know. So I didn't want to look back at my career and go, oh, maybe I went down a weight class, and I didn't want to be a woulda, shoulda, coulda. That guy in the bar, like, if I'd done this, I I wanted to try everything, you know. So I went down that weight class, I tried it. Making the weight was a ball ache, but what was worse was the matchups. The fighting style down there did not suit me. You know, if you locked me in a room with any of these guys at that weight class, gave one of us a key, I'm coming out of that room 100%. I just seem to find a way of, I just run out of time over 15 minutes to get hold of these guys because they hit and run. Not that I'm moaning about that style, it's just the style. So I understand it, but when I got beat by Chico Camuso on a split decision where I still thought I won, the title shot shut for me at that weight class. So there was no need for me to be down there anymore. I went back up a weight class and I felt great at 135. The guys I'm fighting are not going to be hard to find inside the octagon. So this Saturday, he's going to be right there in front of me, and I much prefer 35.
You've really started to diversify the things that you're doing outside of the cage as well. Does that mean, are we reading in between lines to look that you're setting up perhaps the end of the career? And if so, is it anytime soon?
I'd be stupid not to think about the future. So, like, obviously, there's a lot more riding on this. Like, I do have my family now I need to look after. So I need to plant seeds, you know, and to see which one's growing up. So yes, I am running my own promotion. I've got a PR company as well, because I think it's very important for young athletes to know how to conduct themselves in this sort of environment. You know, like, it's very important. Media is so important to people where, you know, you don't understand. If you fight and you only get 30 seconds after a fight to say something, so people don't get to know you as a person. So it's very important that you're here to explain where you're from. And, you know, some people are so bad in the media, like, if you want to fight, yeah, let my fight do. You know, you need to be able to be better than this and market yourself as a brand, you know. I think that's very important. And then also with my show, I'm trying to inspire young athletes. I've been around the game a long, long time, so I've been at good shows, I've been at bad shows, so I know how a show should run. And it's not all about money. Sometimes it's about how things are run behind the scenes, you know. And that's what my show is. I'm never thinking about competing with any of the big shows. It's just a small show, a platform for young athletes to go on and get them primed and ready for the big shows. So that's my insight with that as well. And that's why I'm planting seeds. And like going back to what you're saying about me retiring, all I'm doing is seeing how I feel. I believe I've done a lot within this sport, you know, but I love my job. I want to keep this going. I earn good money with what I do, and now at the end of the day, I'm trying to earn money for my son, you know. If someone gave me a job that I'm going to earn the same money outside of here, I'm fighting, you know. I need to fight. So yeah, so I'm looking at this more as a job. After I finish, I'd love to work for the UFC in Europe in some way. I need to speak to Dana about that and see what my options are. But yeah, I love to be some sort of ambassador, you know.
You say it's about like fight by fight and how you feel. Is it about the wins or losses, about or about the performances? If you're happy with the performances, is it easy to keep going, or is it about the win-loss?
Well, that's where you have to balance it, because normally it's about the performances. but it's not. It's also about the wins. You know, like you can't be the most exciting fighter in the world and lose every fight, and you can't be the most boring fighter in the world and win every fight, because when you lose, you get cut. So like you have to understand, you have to be an entertainer, but you also have to win. So it is a really thin line. Where before it was always about performances, but now it's about winning. You know, so now I could go out against Thomas Almeida. Yeah, I felt great and I looked great in that first round. Then I got beat. You know, what do I think about my performance? I thought I looked good, and then I got beat. So it's hard to it's a hard pill to swallow. But at the end of the day, it's a performance-based sport as well, so I need to win.
And at the end of the day, it's ever going to be a time that Brad Pickett and MMA or Brad Pickett and UFC are linked together. Will you ever kind of walk away from the sport, or you're always going to be involved with the sport?
I love the sport, and like I say, when I first started the sport, it wasn't even a career path for anybody. And now you have like Tom Breeze was sitting next to me. You know, he only started fighting, and a few years ago. And he started straight into MMA, where you see a lot of people back in the old days used to come from a judo background, karate, jiu-jitsu or something, BJJ or something like that. So like now it's a legitimate career path for young athletes, you know. So I'd love to stay in this sport and help with my knowledge and what I've done over my years, because I've carved a way for me, you know. It wasn't easy. I had to fight loads of times here and there, you know. I've carved a career out of this for me, because UFC never even done my weight class for years. Yeah, so there wasn't much money around back in the day. So yeah, I've done things the old school way, and I have a lot of experience, and I love to stay, in my eyes, the best show in the world as long as I can. And when I decide to hand on my gloves, I'd love to work for the UFC. You know, 100%, I love this sport. You know.
Yeah, I'm going to say one more thing before we go, because you know it might be the last time certainly I get to do it. You are a legend in UK MMA, and it has always been a pleasure for every single one of us to watch what you do day in and day out. So thank you, Brad.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I've got a question for you. What are the chances this fight ends in one punch from Brad Pickett?
Very, very likely, because I throw very hard, and he's been dropped many a time, so I could definitely see myself using my nickname on this one.
You mentioned how, you know, you wanted to do flyweight because you wanted to say that, you know, you at least tried it. What did you say is the biggest lesson that you learned from that stint down in flyweight?
Matchmaking makes a big difference, you know. So styles of fights are very, very important, you know. So there are things I changed my game when I went down to flyweight, using my jab a bit more and not just completely brawling, that I have brought back to 135, where I think I use my jab a lot more and set things up a bit better, because I had to do that down at flyweight because they were never in front of me. Yeah. So now I think I brought some good things down from flyweight back up with me to bantamweight.
Now you've been in the game for quite a while now, known as quite a veteran or pioneer for the sport here in the UK. How much do you reckon Conor McGregor's influence has had on the sport and raising the profile for fans and fighters as well?
Nothing. No, I'm joking. For me, he's amazing. You know, like he's not only good at fighting, he's good at building the sport. He's the type of person that brings eyes to the sport from outside the sport. You know, like if you don't know about UFC or MMA, you still might know Conor McGregor. So he's that sort of level, you know, where, you know, like he's that sort of superstar. Like you may not, like someone like David Beckham, you know, you may not know him as a footballer, but you know David Beckham. I think Conor McGregor has that sort of character. Like he's very good with media. So like, if you hit, I don't watch press conferences all the time, but 100% I watched yesterday's. You know, like he makes me want to listen. He has very charismatic with how he conducts himself, and I think it's 100% genuine. You saw like back in a few years ago, Chael Sonnen. But I know Chael Sonnen for years. I remember fighting with him back in Bodog about years ago. He wasn't that character. He brought that character on to build himself, which he done a fantastic job and earned a lot of money doing it. But Conor McGregor, I've been on a card with him so many times, chatted to him a few. He's that guy, and what money he earns is just well deserved. You know, he's hard work has done that. You know, so it's not that he's just got a gold. He's the golden egg of the UFC, but deservedly so.
And predictions on that fight?
100%. McGregor. I think I back McGregor against King Kong at the moment. He you know, like he has that sort of self-belief. You know, he has that sort of self-belief, and I can't see, especially being a 5-round fight, Nick Diaz winning. The only interesting thing in the fight is that he's taller, for the first time, you know. So it's a different kind of challenge, but it's still only a couple of weeks of training, you know. Like, yeah, I think gas is going to be the factor in this fight, I think.
Well, thank you so much and good luck Saturday.